let's go to a letter from Wellington this time because, boy, there's some stuff going on in Wellington this morning. Councillor Tony Randle joins us. Tony, lovely to have you on. Welcome to the show.
Good to hear from you.
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, you got the deluge yesterday after the deluge of government criticism last week. How are you feeling? A bit bruised after the Prime Minister gave you a bit of a verbal savaging?
Well, of course, in the end, the savaging is really around the majority of councillors who keep voting for more, to take more and more money off ratepayers for all their projects. And in the end, they are under siege. They're getting it from the government from above. They're getting it every day in emails from residents. And of course, I'm one of those councillors who, raised amendments to try and trim some of this money and had the majority vote all those amendments down.
Yes, well, and of course on the day that the Local Government New Zealand Conference was opened, ta-da, you have a burst water main flooding out good part of the lower CBD, yeah?
Absolutely. And look, I think Chris Luxon is actually yet another person who is sort of, for me his message was very, very simple and very straightforward, which is that the central government was saying we've got no money, and by the way, neither do you guys.
Which reminds me, Tory Whānau mounted a spirited defence, and it had to be said, well, she went on the attack straight away. In actual fact, she didn't mention a defence at all before the Prime Minister had even spoken and opening the conference, etc. Is she representative of your council, of your community, in the messages she was delivering to the government last week?
Well, I'm not sure. She can always speak, of course, as the mayor. But she didn't, before she made the comments, she didn't check with other councillors, or certainly didn't check with me, in terms of saying, I'm going to say this is our position. She came right back and basically rejected a lot of these, what Chris Luxon was said. And, it's a bit disappointing because, there's two ways to deal with these things when you're a politician, a leader. One is to say, look, we can agree to disagree, and the other way is saying you're wrong. And for a council that needs government support, we're not doing much to build the bridges. Okay,
and just on that very quickly, today the news has broken that posties in Wellington have refused to deliver pamphlets containing what they allege is misinformation about your council and Islamic calls to prayers, but the leaflets could be hitting mailboxes today anyhow. Written by a political campaign group, Better Wellington. Do you know anything about that?
Look, I do. I never heard about it. I read up on it, so you raised it. And look, I think it's a bit shocking, actually, because the Post should be doing its job, which is to deliver word. It's not the job of the Post. And to be fair to the Post Office, the organisation itself says it's not our job to be censor. So these are the union, our postal workers, who is asserting their muscle and saying we're going to censor, we're going to take up the role of censor, we're going to decide what Wellingtonians can see and read about their own city. Better Wellington is a group, and its catchphrase is "Take back your city." Now, I don't necessarily agree with them. I don't know too much about them, and of course, because the flyer hasn't been delivered, I haven't even seen the flyer, but I'd like to read it. Okay,
they are apparently what do they call them? A lobby group that are aiming to remove party politics, they say, from around the council table. And just to explain to everybody else, I think Sean's going to be dealing with this issue tomorrow on his show. They are delivering a pamphlet that says, Wellington, take back your city. They want to, or they're critical of claims about wasteful council spending, citywide speed limits, the assertion that the council wants the city's 6 mosques to broadcast the Islamic prayer across the city. And it's the latter that apparently has upset the unions, and one of your Wellington City Councillors, Rebecca Matthews. She wouldn't come from the left by any chance, would she?
Surprise. No, Rebecca Matthews is a staunch Labour councillor. She votes in lockstep with the mayor on almost all the occasions. And she's, her comments about this group. In the end, of course, you can absolutely disagree with the group, and that's her right. But I would support that everyone should hear what the group has to say, and then they can make up their own mind.
She goes on to say that this is whipping up Islamophobia, that it should be banned, basically. She supported the posties not delivering this, or the trade unions not delivering this into Wellington letterboxes. And she goes on to say, officers have not been asked to investigate daily calls to prayer. This is Islamic prayer. Rather, the rules as they relate to specific events such as future commemoration of the 15th of March 2019 Christchurch mosque shootings, officers will be reporting back next month. What do you understand to be the issue, Tony?
The issue is that our district plan has noise limits, of course, to keep the cacophony down, and they want to have an exemption for events to be able to do things like have the call to prayer. And
was that specifically mentioned when this particular policy paper came to the council?
Oh yes, that was an element of it, and it was part of the district plan finalisation we did earlier in the year, and they wanted an exemption in the district plan to be considered to say that they could do this sort of activity. Now, in terms of it being a one-off event and not a one-off event, I'm not quite sure what the officers are doing. Sometimes you send the officers off to do one task and they come back with another answer. So it is about, though, permitting a call to prayer to happen in Wellington, and for them to have an exemption so they can have their loudspeakers, yell out across, suburbs to say, "Come to prayer."
So the campaign, the public pamphlet put out by the political campaign group Better Wellington is correct when it says that the council wants the city's 6 mosques to broadcast the Islamic call to prayer across the city. That's factually true, is it?
Wants is too strong, and of course I haven't seen the pamphlets. I mean, this group may have said things that are incorrect. I'm not defending what they're saying.
Well, that's the one that's got them going.
Yes, I know. And what I'm saying is that what the council's looking at doing is permitting that sort of activity. Whether the council wants it or not wants it's another totally different issue. And the council, Rebecca Matthews, is correct in the sense that it's a district plan thing, and they want to change the current rules. Under the current rules, they can't do it. People could raise noise complaints and they'll be followed through because obviously it's very loud. I mean, it has to be very loud. And whether or not for it to work. And that's what the council's doing. It's looking at permitting this sort of event or activity. And that's what they're going to report back on.